Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this morning's episode of Trending, brought to you in association with Iconic Coffee. Head over to shop.iconic.com, first breath, and use the code TRENDING and you get 10% off. How you doing, Rich? I tried to do that literally off of one breath, and I very nearly did it, but not quite.
You really did, but I like the way you commentated on the breath as well. So that was quite cool. It was like we're living in two different realities at once.
I
Whereas,
want people to
sometimes you
know.
do that, don't you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I find myself commentating on my life quite a bit, actually. I want people to know exactly what's going on.
Yep.
Right, if you look out the window now, I mean, you're on the other side of England to me, but it's pretty grim. It's not really sunny. There is no sun, so there's probably no need to dim it. Experiments to dim the sun will be approved within weeks. Don't laugh. Right, I'll carry on with the story. Experiments to dim sunlight to fight global warming. Oh, it's global warming again now, is it?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought they changed the name because it stopped getting warm. I thought it became climate change. That's global warming again now. It's hard to keep up. Will be given the green light by the government within weeks. Outdoor field trials, which could include injecting aerosols into the atmosphere, what could possibly go wrong, or brightening clouds to reflect sunshine, are being considered by scientists as a way to prevent runaway climate change. Oh, it's climate change again now. It was global warming. Now it's climate change. But it's not just normal climate change. It's runaway. Come back. Come here.
It's warp speed.
ARIA, the government's Advanced Research and Invention Funding Agency, has set aside 15 million quid for projects which will be announced in the coming weeks. Professor Mark Symes, the programme's director, said that there would be small controlled outdoor experiments on particular approaches. Sounds like management talk, David. I know you hate that. We will be announcing who will be given funding in the next few weeks. And when we do so, we will be making clear when any outdoor experiments might be taking place, he said. Right. The idea that they're about to start experiments is laughable, and it's actually an insult to the intelligence of anyone with eyes that can look up in the sky at any point over the last couple of decades. I think we're basically, Rich, we've reached that point where we transition from the unseen to the seen. Do you know what I mean? From the hidden, this is what's going on, clandestine operation, to actually, yeah, we're doing this, by the way. We're just sort of in that little phase. And so the announcement of an experiment is just, I guess conditioning the public. People are noticing, though, Rich, I don't know about you, but any talk of sort of chemtrails or geoengineering 20 years ago, 15 years ago, even 5 years ago, kind of got a little bit of it would get the old tinfoil hat meme. It would get that, seems a little crazy, little gif sent at you as if it was the first time anyone had ever sent it. Whereas now it's sort of accepted, isn't it? It's common knowledge. People have done that. They've got, like they did with COVID and the jabs and the masks, they've gone from that, they'll never do that, you're mad, you are, to, I think it's quite a good idea, yes. But seamlessly, almost in the same breath, like I was doing it at the start. Part of me thinks they can't hide it anymore, Rich, because people are noticing. So I don't know if the fact they're pushing this is because, hang on, just tell them it's an experiment. Whether that's happening or whether it's a case of actually they think that they've gaslit the public enough over the last 20 years of this world gone da climate change nonsense that actually people will support it. I don't know. Or just the fact that they think they can do what they want because Labour are in charge now, so to hell with what the people want. One of those three options, Richard.
Yeah, one of the above. And as ever, it ties back to the occult. So I'll bring that angle in here. So this blotting out of the sun is absolutely in line with what they're talking about in terms of the firstborn, secondborn. The sun represents Rome. We were a sun-worshipping cult, pagans, Sol Invictus, which is literally the Statue of Liberty's head, quite clearly. So we were a sun-worshipping cult, pagans, and they want to blot that out. So the firstborn is chaos in their Kabbalistic terms. So the sun is chaos. The moon is the new world order, Olam Haba, the world to come. Now, the moon doesn't have any light of its own. It doesn't project any light of its own. It absorbs the light, talents, work, skills of the sun into itself and reflects it back as the shimmering darkness is what they want to live in. So twilight, that's the whole point. And the twilight language is what this actually is. So the blacking out of the sun there maybe they're trying to actually do the actual thing, but it always comes with another level of this esoteric, coded, Kabbalistic language. And what they're talking about there is the West falling, Rome falling, the sun cult falling to be replaced by the shimmering darkness, which is the absorbing of the sun's light, of your light, into the darkness. So when you hear these people talk about the Trump guys talking about dark to light, turning dark into light, what they're actually talking about is a Kabbalistic term. Many of them, I'm not saying that they understand that or know that, but it is a Kabbalistic term. So they switch things around. It's inverted. So dark becomes light. So this dark becomes the shimmering darkness. So this is what it's about. This is Kabbalistic, absolutely, 100%. And I've been looking to this for some time. My great grandfather came up with the concept of daylight saving times, and he was a Freemason. It's got all of these Kabbalistic terms in it, and that's exactly what it is. So it might not be any practicality to actually this. They'd probably using it as an excuse to just spray chemicals in the air, which is more than likely just to poison us all and turn us all into transhumanist robots. But the actual Kabbalistic understanding of this is the fall of Rome. And we're seeing more and more of this. And the stories that we've got today absolutely line up with the fact of pinpointing the West as Rome, as the son, as the firstborn, as Esau against Jacob, who later became Israel, against this cult. And this is what it is. That's what it is Kabbalistic coding.
You also got, in terms of creating antennas out of people, basically all the metallic particles that will be in these aerosols coming down, being absorbed into the ground, into people's skin, being breathed in. Also dimming out the sun. You sort of need the sun to maintain a level of health through vitamin D. You also sort of need the sun to grow food, so you can create food scarcity. It ticks so many boxes, this nonsense. It's honestly, it's ridiculous. And all I hope is that people will see it for the nonsense that it is, and also see through the fact that the very idea that they're just about to start experiments on something that you've seen every time you've opened your bloody curtains in the morning for the last however many years is absurd. Ashley Sinclair, I don't. When I saw a picture of her, I kind of recognize her, but she's not someone that I follow as an influencer or a conservative podcaster or whatever it is she is. But she's quite famous, I think. She's Elon Musk's baby mama. I don't know how many babies that is now, Rich. It's a few, isn't it, mate?
It's quite a few, yeah. I mean, they lost one to SIDS early on, which also has a Kabbalistic. I'm not saying that was the issue there or happened, but it does have a connection to the Kabbalah and Lilith and the firstborn. So 13th child, 14th, I believe, in total. Now, this is really interesting. I'd never heard of this lady before at all until I was speaking to Wayne McCrory yesterday, and he pointed out that recently they've regenerated an extinct wolf called the dire wolf. I think we covered this a few weeks back, and they called it Romulus and I think it's Remus or Remus, two brothers. So this extinct wolf will come back. Now, Romulus and Remus or Remus are the two brothers that are said twin brothers in mythology that created Rome. So here we go again. Now, this child is named Romulus. The Romulus is a Greek mythology and Holy Musketon author and political influencer Alison Clair has finally unveiled the name of a child, which is Romulus Sinclair. And it's really, really interesting. They're using all of these things to point out that it's Rome. Romulus started Rome in this Greek mythology with his brother, and I believe they ended up, one of them killed the other, which again is this Cain and Abel thing pointed over again. So again, you've got this other, let's set up this Western world to be more Christian. I want them to get them to believe they are the Roman Empire to fit in with this narrative. Now, what's even more interesting, and I was shocked to find this because it so fits in with everything we've been talking about, this Lilith and this transhumanist child of what's going on under Epstein's island. We know they filled it in with cement 3 weeks prior to the supposed FBI invasion of it. And then Zorro Ranch, Juliette Bryant and others have said that they've been to the ranch. Juliette Bryant said she woke up underneath there. There's something going on under New Mexico. She believes they're stealing the eggs. They've all got the symbol of Lilith there it all fits into this transhumanist agenda. Now, I started speaking about an island called St. Bart's a while back. It's a 50-minute flight from, and that's commercial flight. So if you're private jet, it's even less. 50-minute flight from St. James, Little St. James, which is Epstein Island, and St. Thomas, St. James, and other surrounding islands, including St. Bart's, all connected via submarine. We know Ghislaine Maxwell had a submarine as well, a submarine license. So does Richard Branson, who seems to get himself in a lot of trouble. It's called the Virgin Islands for a reason, isn't it? His company's called Virgin for a reason. Have a look into this. Now, St. Bart's popped up on my radar about a year and a half ago. I wrote an article about it. P. Diddy was seen on there. Guess where this child was conceived?
I'm going to go with Skegness.
No, many children are conceived in Skegness, and
Right.
hold my hands up. But this child was conceived on St. Bart's Island.
Oh, you
What's
surprised
the
me.
chances?
Wow.
What's the chances?
You're,
So this child
Remus is the other
conceived,
brother
so-
then, Rich?
Remus, yeah.
Because Remus
Romulus
is
and
the
Remus.
wolf from the werewolf from Harry Potter, which I know people will go,
Yes,
why
it
is he
would
talking
be.
about Harry Potter? But there's so much symbolism in Hollywood films and stuff, and you know, yeah, that's interesting.
Absolutely, because Romulus and Remus were raised by a she-wolf. There you go. So it's all in the Twilight films, all in these Harry Potter films. It's telling you. So the fact that they've named this child Romulus is not a mistake, and the fact that that child was conceived on St. Bart's is a ritual, in my opinion. Now, this is only. It's connected to Epstein Island. Everything we've been saying about Lilith, the firstborn, harvesting of eggs, transhumanist children, what's going on under Epstein Island, what's going on under Zorro Ranch. It all fits in. We had Katy Perry last week holding up the blue sign of Lilith over her eye on this Blue Shepherd Origins capsule. She is actually on the flight logs for Epstein, only a few names above, actually, Juliet Bryant. There's something to this, and it has to do with transhumanism. It has to do with Lilith, the firstborn, a child, a moon child, as Aleister Crowley would say. And these symbols of Rome are popping up absolutely in there. And it looks to me as if they're trying to bring in the West to believe they are the Roman Empire, at least subconsciously. So when it falls again, and it says in a biblical text, I think it's one of the Revelations, it says, Rome will fall, will fall. It says it twice. I'm not saying I believe the biblical text. I'm saying these things are being followed as if they're a plan. This all fits in, mate, and it gets more and more disturbing. St. Bart's, what's the likelihood of the child being conceived there, even if it's not true? The narrative is there.
There's a lot of symbolism with Musk, though, isn't there? I mean, we spoke about it yesterday in terms of the X Club and all that kind of stuff. It seems to be a language of these types that they speak in symbolism, whether they're speaking to each other with a nod and a wink, or whether it's almost they have to tell us, so they tell us through symbolism. So it's like, well, you know, I did kind of tell you if you knew how to read it, which obviously a lot of people are starting to do. People are seeing through Musk a little bit more. I had a conversation with Jason Burmas yesterday, and it's interesting because we were talking about the fact that people are waking up to Musk, and it's actually like, well, actually, they're not waking up to Musk. They're reawakening to Musk, because actually a lot of these people were calling out Musk 10 years ago. He's the brain chip guy, right? Yeah. Then all of a sudden, you know, the last sort of 3 or 4 years, really, he's had like almost like a Mark Zuckerberg style rebranding. And so everyone then suddenly got on board with him and sort of forgot he was the brain chip guy. And now they're like, oh, yeah, he is the brain chip guy, isn't he? Yes, he is the brain chip guy. He's also the supporting of carbon credits guy. Yeah, and the low orbit satellites beaming 5G to the planet. Yeah, he's that guy. Yeah, he's not your friend. How does he find time to make so many babies as well?
I don't
'cause
know.
He's
I don't
tweeting all
know.
day. He's designing stuff, apparently. He's running some government departments. And he's jumping the bones of podcasters left, right, and centre. So I mean, well done, I suppose. Like, if you've got the time for it, I'm too exhausted by the end of the day, Richard.
Well, 26-year-old podcasters. I'd like to just quickly say, though, what you pointed out there is really interesting, and we'll keep an eye on this one to watch, because obviously Musk is stepping down from Doge. Trump is separating himself from Musk at the moment. And I think that's what you're seeing there, even subconsciously, is that the Trump lot, the lot over here and the MAGA lot over there, are subconsciously following Trump off the cliff. And that gap's being put there between Musk and Trump now. So keep an eye
Doesn't
on that.
surprise me. Served a purpose. Now See you later. Right, this one's ridiculous. This country's on its arse. And so for people that are watching this that get annoyed when we talk about Musk and Trump and say, focus on your own country, well, we do, but we're all in it together, believe it or not, because actually there's a global cult and just sit in different nations. UK annual borrowing exceeds forecast by almost 15 billion in blow to Rachel Reeves. Are we allowed to call her Rachel from accounts yet? Because she's so appalling that actually the name's sort of fitting, really, but then it was kind of like, oh no, that's sexist. Okay, so well, how much does she have to screw stuff up before we're allowed to call her that? I don't know. Let's see. Just answers on a postcard. Let me know. Rachel Reeves could be forced, no, don't want to do it, to raise taxes or announce deeper cuts to public spending after figures revealed UK borrowing overshot official forecast by almost 15 billion. It's monopoly money, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? It's just monopoly money. Just, oh mate, how much have you got? Well, you know, it's not a pound out or 50p out, or I've missed, it's 15 billion. With the British economy coming under mounting strain amid Donald Trump's escalating trade war, blah, 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 blah. Lots of big figures, lots of money, monopoly money. After a larger than anticipated rise in borrowing in March, surely you know what you're borrowing if you're borrowing it. The figure was 14.6 billion more than the Office for Budget Responsibility, there's no responsibility whatsoever, had predicted less than a month ago. So it's amazing, isn't it? So you can be out by 15 billion quid in a space of a month. In the setback for the government, depends how you look at it, economists warned that Reeves could be forced to put up taxes again, or cut public spending further in the autumn budget, blah, 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 blah. Right, Reeves is completely out of her depth, okay? Right, completely out of her depth. How she's in the position anyway, given how much she lied on her CV. If I lied on my CV to get a job at frickin' McDonald's, I'd probably lose my job. The fact that she's become Chancellor of the Exchequer with a LinkedIn page full of stuff that didn't happen and she never did is beyond me. But it's another example with much of the Labour front bench of a bunch of morons being put into positions of so-called influence, right? Because they're not the ones actually making these decisions at all, but because they're morons and narcissists, they're quite easily manipulated. But the beautiful thing about having a moron and a narcissist in a position of influence, at least as the public face of it, is you've got a perfect excuse of incompetence. For when all things go Pete Tong and the public kick off, oh, mate, what? Taxes are going up again. Yeah. Well, it's government incompetence. Is it? And then you look at Lammy and you look at Miliband and you look at Reeves and you look at Starmer and you go, oh, yeah, I can believe that. And that's the point. Yeah. You're meant to believe that. You're meant to believe that it's mistakes that are made accidentally by morons, but it's not. It's completely manipulated, and it's happening because it's allowed to happen. Rich, if the banksters and the corporate leaders across the UK, all the CEOs and all that sort of stuff, if they wanted Reeves gone, she'd be gone. Look what they did to Liz Truss. When Liz Truss became Prime Minister because the Conservative members picked her instead of Sunak, who was the bankster's choice. They destroyed, I've got no skin in the game for Truss, but they destroyed her in about 25 minutes and she was done. The fact that it's allowed to happen is because the banksters and the hedge fund managers and the corporations want it to happen. Because if you can destroy the country, destroy people's livelihoods, people's abilities to pay their mortgages, they default on their mortgage, they lose their mortgage, therefore they lose their house, then the likes of the banks, the Vanguards, the BlackRocks come in and they take all the tangible assets, not just numbers on a screen, which is what money is half the time, but the tangible, the real assets, which are your bricks and mortar, real stuff that you can actually pick up and go, yeah, that's real, that. They come and have that and you're left with nothing. And I imagine, when this autumn budget comes, it will be more crippling for people. There'll be more surprises before the autumn. Oh, yeah, sorry, we borrowed even more. Didn't mean to. I tripped and fell and accidentally borrowed £15 billion. Honestly, mate.
It's absurd, isn't it? It's so I remember you saying about Boris Johnson as well, with his hair, messing his hair up to make himself look incompetent. That's all part of the show. They want incompetent people, but they also want them to come across as incompetent. Obviously, they're there to just take the flak, the red shield of it all. I mean, I think we talked about a few weeks back that we put billions into, or millions into, I think it was this country, into AI infrastructure. So to go 14.45 billion over is just absurd. And as you say, it's monopoly money. It's not real
Yeah.
money. It's not real anything. It's all narratives, push and pull. Most people aren't taking any notice of it. They just go, again, oh, tax has gone up again. Oh, because really, you haven't got time in the day to even look at that stuff and think it makes any sense. And it doesn't when you pull it apart. It's just nonsense. As you say, it's all just a facade. So they could just pick these numbers out of nothing. It doesn't really matter if you're printing the money. Obviously, it's all designed to collapse with the Rome and the West and the digital currency to be brought in over the next 10 years, and it'll probably be even quicker than that. We know where this is heading.
Yeah. It's
but
about
people
destroying the
aren't
old
doing
normal,
anything
isn't it?
about it.
They're destroying
Yeah,
the old system. Something I noticed as well with them is the amount of budgets, and then emergency budgets, and then emergency budgets. It's like an Alex Jones broadcast. There's always another one and another one. So what they do is if you'd have a budget once a year or whatever, then we're going to put up your taxes. Say we're going to put up your taxes £200 a month. People will go, what? I can't afford that. Whereas if you have an emergency budget, which puts people's taxes up 40 quid a month, and then you have an emergency budget that puts people's taxes up 40 quid a month, and then you have another budget that puts people's taxes up 40 quid a month. You do that enough times. In the end, people go, oh no, it went up £40 a month. No, it didn't. It went up £200 a month. It just did it in steps, mate. And you accepted it.
Yeah, it's like feeding a child. It's like you eat your dinner. All right, just have this pea. Just have this pea. Have that carrot. That bit of fish finger, and eventually the plate's empty. It's the same thing. That's what they're doing. They're gradually feeding you.
Like boiling a frog. Right, final story then, Rich. We're going back to the United States for this one.
We are, but it actually, when I talk about the United States, I'm talking about the West. So I'm talking about the UK specifically, and the US and parts of Europe. So when we're talking about these things, I'm talking about Rome, I'm talking about Christianity, we are talking about us. It's just the story in here, and the politics seems to be going through America at the point, because quite clearly Washington DC is Rome, Maryland, and it is Rome. So Veteran Affairs Agency orders staff to report each other for anti-Christian bias. So you could see this being played up, this collision between this anti-Semitism, anti-Christian. They're building these mythological, in my opinion, religions up again. Religion faded away into the background, and now we're bringing it to the forefront. The Pope's just died on Easter Monday. The Veterans Affairs Department, VA, is ordering staff to report colleagues for instances of anti-Christian bias to a newly established task force as part of Donald Trump's push to reshape government policy on religious expression. Now, he's playing the role of I am Christian. Obviously, clearly, he's not Christian. He's of the mystical Jewish faith, as for want of a better word. The only Christian kind of connection you might have is the Jesuits. So they are pushing this again. They want to build the West back up into a Christian nation to have it to fall. So they've got their agents on the inside. It's a very interesting time when it comes to the religions, because everybody's going to think that he's actually Christian, but quite clearly he's not a Christian, and no one around him. And I would hazard to guess that Russell Brand, Tucker Carlson, and all these guys, Candace Owens, are, whether knowingly so, playing their role in pushing Christianity to the forefront again, to allow it to fall even, because they need that narrative of the West falling as a Christian Roman Edomite nation. Very interesting times.
Yeah, it's also an example. I mean, for part of it for me is it's a few crumbs for the Christian right that voted for Trump and supported Trump to power, and a lot of them still support Trump, so that they will look the other way when it comes to, mRNA, when it comes to cracking down on free speech, when it comes to poking Iran with a stick, when it comes to AI and all that kind of stuff. They'll look the other way because they got some crumbs. And another aspect of it that I look at, I'm looking at this headline. So the headline of the article you sent me is Veterans Affairs Agency orders staff to report each other for anti-Christian bias. Okay. So Christians will go, good. If you change that Christian word in that, so you go, Veteran Affairs Agency orders staff to report each other for anti-trans bias, they'd be going mad. If it was report for anti-Muslim bias, they'd be going mad. Yeah. What you're asking staff, you're asking staff to snitch on each other for people's opinions, but it's okay when we do it. Now, I don't think there should be any anti-anyone bias. I think, people should be judged on the content of their character. That used to be an old school way of thinking back in Martin Luther King's days. But, do you know what I mean? It's quite radical now. But I do believe that. But at the same time, what I find funny is the hypocrisy with this kind of stuff. It's okay when we do it. But if it was other people doing it, if that was any other, report each other for anti-LGBTQ bias, they'd be going, what? So, that's...
But also, Gaz, it also doesn't make sense because a religion is an ideology. It's just packaged different. So it's no different from a political ideology. So if you're against that ideology, say of a certain religion, then is that anti that religion? Well, you just don't want the world to be shaped in the form of the way they believe it. So of course you're anti it, because I don't want the world to be like all of us have to follow the Islamic faith or the Christian faith or the Jewish faith or any faith.
No.
So I'm equally against all of them. So when you're talking about politics and religion, there's very, very little difference because it creates the world in which you live in. So are you not allowed an opinion then on the ideology of a group of people that want to live the world to be in a certain way? So it makes no sense. You have to be against Christianity if you don't believe in the outcomes that they want. You have to be against Islam if you don't believe the outcomes that they want. You have to be against Judaism if you don't believe in the outcomes that they want. That's an opinion. That's an ideology. I don't want the world to be in any of those shapes. So what's the difference between that and a political ideology?
Well, it's also the fact that, on the face of it, being anti-bias based on someone's religious beliefs is, of course, a good thing. Shouldn't be biased against people because of what they believe in terms of their personal beliefs. But at the same time, it's not where it ends. It never is. It's when you bring in these laws where they say, oh, it's anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism is hatred of Jewish people. Yeah, but it's not, though, is it? In terms of the rules, it's not. It's about stopping criticism of Israel, mate, actually, when you get down to it.
Which is political.
Which is political, exactly.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to we spoke about it yesterday on the show, the fact that you can boycott any nation, any US state, anyone you want, apart from one state. You can't boycott Israel. It's written into legislation by Donald Trump. So it's kind of reporting each other for anti-Christian bias, okay, but let's get away from the meat and potatoes and down to the little finer small print, the peas and carrots of actually what does anti-Christian bias mean? Really, on a day-to-day basis. If it means not allowing someone to have a job because they believe in Jesus, then fine, that's wrong. But if it's something slightly different to that, if it's a case of you might have voiced an opinion in a HR meeting and now you're out on your ear, well, that's very different.
Yeah, it depends on the job role you're going into as well. If your ideology of your beliefs seeps over to your job role, which inevitably it will do because that's how human beings work, then you do have to watch people's ideologies and ways of seeing the world depending on the job role they're given. If they're working at KFC, yeah, all right, it doesn't really matter. But if you're there working in nuclear physics, it might matter what your ideology is. It doesn't. You can't blanket everything like that.
So if you're working in nuclear physics and you believe in the end of days, it's probably not a great combo, is it?
No, give him a job at KFC. It's fine.
Yeah.
Not there.
Yeah. Chicken drumsticks. Mate, I'm not going to see you now till when am I going to see you, Rich? Because this is me done. So it's you and Jay tomorrow back for Friday's Trending. I'm going away to ride some steam trains this weekend because, do you know what I mean? I'm in the 40s now. That's what we do. Ride steam trains. Yeah. As always, thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. This episode of Trending, along with all of them, is brought to you in association with Iconic Coffee. Head over to shop.iconic.com and use the code TRENDING. You get 10% off. You can also buy mugs and T-shirts and pictures of Richard's face. I don't know if they're online yet, but they definitely should be. Have a great weekend, and I'll be back Monday. You'll be back tomorrow, won't you, Rich? Take care of yourself, mate.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.